Bjorn did not play. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gressvan, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing his brand new team, Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. But yeah, so when it comes to KSL, the Terran players usually don't wake up in time for KSL. KSL is actually earlier in the mornings in Korea. It's like around noon on Saturdays. And players like Maru and Bjorn, they rarely play in those events. They play more frequently in ESL Open Cup Asia, as well as, what's the other one? Kung Fu Cups as well. Not so much the KSL, not so much. It is something that we have all noticed. We've spoken about it amongst the other casters as well, where Maru and Bjorn and Kira as well, they used to be more active when KSL was on Fridays. And a little bit later. Because they moved over to Saturdays, suddenly the Terrans disappeared. It's like, oh. So it's more of a rarity. They do show up every now and then, and whenever Bjorn and Maru show up, they make it all the way to the finals. But they are, again, a rarer sight in KSL. Rarer sight. Let's go. As we are getting ready for our next series. Vámonos, papi, vámonos. So far, nothing too crazy. Likewise, Dark. Oh, no proxy hatch. Feels bad, man. Feels bad, man. No proxy hatch from Dark. Just hatch gas full as to be expected. Likewise, Classic going for a standard opener. But what is always really fun about casting Classic is that he is a really... he's a really diverse player, kind of like Hero. Like Hero and Classic are pretty similar in that respect. Hero does have, I would say, better overall micro and control alongside his macro. I do think that he's still like maybe one step above Classic, but they are both kind of cut from the same cloth in a way. And we'll see where we end up. So far, no Twilight Council opener. It is going to be a Stargate coming out from Classic instead. Let's go. Likewise, Dark setting up for his third base. Now, despite all the ZvPs that we have been casting today, we haven't casted a standard ZvP. Like, we haven't seen triple Oracle into +1 Blink Stalkers. We've seen, like, certain variations, and I think the closest we got to that was Lunacy. But even then, there was a bit of a twist to it, and we've just been seeing a lot of aggression from our Protoss players. Even in that last game, Nightmare did go for a Void Ray first, if you recall. So this may be the first time we end up in a much more standard opener. Standard ZvP. Well, let's go. Again, I'm not opposed to the cheeky, like, aggressive, cheesy plays. I'm not opposed to that at all, but or more aggressive plays. But every now and then, you know, I appreciate a standard macro game. I appreciate it. As the first Oracle was out, the second Oracle is on the way behind this. The Adepts are going to be forced back, but they do not go down. They race back home in time to actually defend the third base, as the Oracles are looking to keep Dark's attention back at home. Now, we already have 2 Queens here at the natural, but they are off of creep. Oh, Dark overextending with his Queens is going to expose his natural base, and 4 drones go down in the blink of an eye. 5 drones even. Ay, ay, ay. Dark slipping up a little bit here, is punished for it. At the same time, he goes for a link counterattack, but no, the Adepts are in position. The third base is safe and sound, and there is that follow-up. It is going to be the Twilight Council on the Forge, as to be expected. 4+1. I imagine 4 blink. And this opener is already well worth it for Classic, to be honest. Already well worth it. I think 5 drone kills. Dark behind this is going for a bit of a faster lair, actually. I'm very curious as to what this is going to be for. Oh, as the first Queen does go down. Oh, God. Classic finding so much damage with these Oracles. Initially the drones, now even a queen. The oracles do survive. Bearing in mind that this was a double oracle opener, not a triple, and so it's that much more impressive that this much damage has been done, despite the fact that Classic has been cutting some corners. Without that third oracle, he's going to be able to get into, of course, his upgrades and his fire council faster, his blink faster. And Dark is lining up his lair here with his Roach Warren, so it looks like he's going to be going for a Roach heavy composition. I imagine this is going to be for Roach speed, and obviously we can see a later +1 melee, if not +1 range, prioritized first even. Oof. Meanwhile, Adepts, they do shade in and they focus down so many of these drones. 4 more drones go down for 2 Adepts. Again, well worth it. The Oracles dip on in. They get another drone. Up. But now it's going to be Classic's turn. It's going to be Classic's turn to overextend. He does end up losing an Oracle. For all this damage, though, for 10 drones, I would say a good trade. Ideally, the Protoss would like to preserve this Oracle and to keep it alive, but, you know, it's still a decent amount of economic damage done for that. Meanwhile, behind this, Dark does throw down that Spire once the Oracles have been pushed away. Spire in between the bases. We are taking all 6 of these gases. +1 range on the way. The lair was not for Roach speed. And yeah, Dark is looking to be a little bit cheeky. Now, can he get away with this? That's the question. Can this go unscattered? I mean, killing 1 Oracle is we're already halfway there. The likelihood of Classic scatting this with only a single Oracle is so low, but still possible. There we go. The Oracle does get targeted down. It does lose its shields. Is going to be forced back. Blink does kick in, and Classic is looking to reinforce across the map. He is up to only 4 gates, soon to be 6. Behind this, he's getting into double Colossi production. Looking to try and snowball from here, but he does get surrounded. He's going to be making use of the terrain. He will be able to blink over to the other side of these rocks. So great use of the map itself. Does deny those lings. 11 mutas are on the way. Now, even though Dark hasn't scattered the Bay and the double Colossus production, the mutas should. It looks like Dark, once again though, he wants to use these mutas defensively instead. Let's here we go. The lings, they do dive on forward. The prison does expose itself, and the mutas will be focusing it down. Ooh. So we do force the recall. Prism does fall, and that is going to give Dark so much room here to drone up. Gases are being taken. Drones are immediately on the way. Dark wants to saturate this 4th. And the mutas instantly go for a counterattack. What do we have in the main to defend? We have a Phoenix production commencing. Blink Stalkers do take down one of those mutas. They do dive into the main. Shield battery not quite done yet. Lings looking to threaten that natural base, but no, the army is in position. Classic defends quite well, to be honest, but he is forced to stay at home. So again, even though Dark isn't doing too much economic damage, he's containing Classic to 3 bases, and he is able to saturate this 4th. Working towards the 5th as we speak. And we are continuing muta production. We are doubling down on mass muta. It's a risky move. It can work. Can snowball quite heavily. Speaking of Colossi were looking to be a little bit exposed there, but no, they do manage to survive. Mutas, they do end up catching the Oracle, and maybe, yeah, they do catch 2 of those Phoenixes. The wall is not a wall. They lings, they do flood into the main, they do flood into the natural. Damage being done everywhere, and the mutas are looking for even more pickoffs as they find another Phoenix. Phoenixes are supposed to be the counter to mutas, but honestly, they haven't done too much yet. Oh my god. The whole position micro. No shot. No probes were killed. What? That's crazy. Even though we had lings in the main and the natural base, because the whole position micro, 2 probes have died this game. That's crazy. Oh my god. That's actually insane. And this is a little bit scary here for Dark because he's forcing a counterattack. He threw away a lot of lings and he's going for the base trade. Mutas, they take down the Stargate. Lings once again flood into the natural. The wall is not a wall, and we are just committed. Classic is not turning around. But it does feel that Dark is going to be able to hit faster. He's going to be able to take down the main as well as the natural. He's hunting down the probes as we speak. At the same time, Classic is forcing his way into the main base of Dark. We're going full base trade. Let's go. Probes have been able to evacuate, and they do make it all the way across the map to the main army. At the same time, buildings are falling left and right. Dark still has mining bases. Classic does not. At the same time, Dark did lose all of his tech. He can make mutas, but he's heavily supply blocked, so Dark actually can't make anything. As he's losing more of his army, the mutas, they do turn around. They catch a Colossus for free. Looking at the army, it's pretty competitive. I do think that Classic, if he goes for a head-on engagement, Classic will win. I do think he has plenty of Stalkers, but the mutas are far more maneuverable. They are looking for more pickoffs. They got a Colossus earlier. Got a Zealots. Oh, the probes are under threat as well. The buildings! Oh my god, one probe survives. That's the only probe left in the game. Uno mas. We just needed one more puppy, as we are running out of buildings, by the way. Gas is going down the pylons as well. We need to throw something down. He's looking for room. Oh, he gets a pylon. Just barely, he gets a pylon. If that probe had died, that would have been the end of the game. It still may just be the end of the game. Again, Dark, all he has to do is dive on that pylon, and if he kills it, that's it. Throws down a second pylon. Classic doesn't have enough for a Nexus. He throws down two more. Meanwhile, Dark, he's got hatcheries all over the place. 3 hatcheries in production. Drones scouring the map. And again, even though this will be close, I still do think that Classic with Blink Micro as well, he can deal with all these mutas. But Dark doesn't have to fight. He can just drone. He can saturate these bases. He can drone. He can back off. He can macro. He doesn't have to engage. He will, though, but he doesn't have to. Mutas are going to be threatening those pylons. Hatcheries are getting up and running. Like, if Dark can get out of the supply block, he can make more lings, and he'll be in a much better position. The Stalkers, they do blink, and they expose their pylons. No, Classic! The blink may have just killed him. Ooh, 2 pylons go down. We have 2 left. That's all we have. And I don't think there's a... Again, I think the only way Classic wins this game is if Dark loses the mutas. You do see Classic moving out with his Zealots and the Prism and the Probe. Oh my god. Could Dark dive on these 2 pylons? Probably. Probably. As Dark is now free from the supply block. Catches the Zealots, is going to be able to clean them up. The micro is cute. Very cute micro. As Classic only loses 1 Zealot. He finds a gas geyser copium. Unfortunately, Classic doesn't know how many bases there are. He doesn't know how many he doesn't know how far behind he is. He sees the base mining. Oof. Feels bad, man. Well, Stalkers do catch 2 mutas. Bit of a mistake there from Dark. Again, this is what Classic has to hope for, is these little mistakes. Oh, the micro, Papi. Classic is... He's huffing that copium, Papi. He's on that Terran copium. That's some strong stuff, Papi. Don't OD. I mean, again, he does technically have a win condition, I guess. And that is if he's able to snowball out of control and kill this base, which I think he may. Also, if Dark overextends with his mutas. There we go. Hatchery is going to be going down. The mutas, they do dive in, but they force themselves to fight with these Stalkers. 1 pylon goes down, and yeah, we just dive onto the other. GG gets called. And Dark will take game 1, winning the base trade. GG. Yeah, Dark, he didn't really like his chances. Like, can I dive on those pylons? If by any chance he doesn't kill the pylons, then he may throw the game, but did get them in the end. GG, well played. And Dark takes game 1. Ay, ay, ay. Went the distance, Papi, went the distance. Ugh. As we are now going to be getting into game number 2. As a reminder, this is a best of 3, not a best of 5. So Classic is up against the wall. He's up against the ropes. Has to bring it back here and now if he wants to force the H match, if he wants a chance at making it to the grand finals. And here we go. Spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing his brand new team, Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. It is Dark. I'm catching up with the chat. The probe has nobody left. Bible thumb. Ah, Smoge, Papi. The probe was left all alone. Ah. As we are setting up for a hatch first opener here. Hatch gas pull from Dark, as to be expected. Is going to be able to get it up on time, on location. Oh. And yeah, that was a pretty intense game. A game that we don't get to see too. Oh my, Jesus, that taste loop, it's zooming. Oh my god. Are they usually this quick? Look at him go. He was, oh my god. He slows down when he's on creep, but he was speeding his way through into the main. I've never seen that before. Am I crazy? Did you guys see that? I think he was being pushed by the probe. I think like the model was being like, I think the model was maybe trying to walk backwards, but because the probe was there, it was just forcing forwards like in a really weird way. That was, yeah, I don't know. That was just really weird. They do zoom when they see units. Yeah, that was crazy. That scared me for a moment. It's like the taste loop was coming. Look at him go. He like speeds up. All right. Anyway. I just haven't noticed that before. Oh god. As we're getting into our openers, hatch gas pull from Dark, nothing too crazy. Natural bases on location. Jesus. Asus needs to calm down, Papi. He needs to calm down. And behind this, Classic is setting up for a Stargate opener as well. Nothing too crazy from Classic. And again, I do think that he was playing quite well in that last game, not gonna lie. Just a couple of slip-ups. I mean, I say a slip-up. The main thing was, of course, that the mutas did go unscattered. The Spire never got scattered. So when the mutas revealed themselves, it did put Classic in a really tough position. And it did kind of force him all in as well. Just because he couldn't get a 4th base up and running and he couldn't quite move out. And when he did, he was forced to base trade. The other thing that I was about to mention is shout out to Dark, because you don't get to see mass muta too often in ZvP anymore. It's a really risky thing to do, but Dark was able to successfully keep it hidden. And if you remember, a big reason for that is because Classic did open up double Oracle, and Classic did lose his first Oracle really early on. So Classic had very limited scouting information, or scouting potential. It was quite limited there for Classic. Oh, so Dark took full advantage of that. And we'll see where we go here in game number 2. As the first Oracle is about to hit the field. And the second is not too far behind that. So again, pretty standard stuff out of Classic. No Twilight Council, no Void Ray first. We're not cutting out like one Oracle or anything crazy like that, or going for a Phoenix. And hopefully this time Classic is a little bit more careful with his Oracles. If you remember, initially he did a lot of damage. He got 10 drone kills. But you can see that like losing your Oracle can be pretty devastating. They are sometimes the only thing that the Protoss has to really scout and figure out what the Zerg player is up to. So to get 3 drone kills here at the natural. Oracle is looking to escape. The Queen gets a couple of extra hits in. Does soften out that Oracle a little bit further. As once again, for the second time in a row, Classic is going to be stopping here at 2 Oracles, immediately transitioning into that Twilight Council. Actually, a Twilight Council followed by 2 Gateways No Forge. Is this Glaives? No, it is going to be Blink, but a Forgeless Blink even. So Classic is looking to be quite aggressive here. He's going to be delaying his upgrades in favor of more Stalkers. Once again, another Oracle goes down. We are down to 1. We do get a lot of drone kills. The Adepts are sneaking in behind this. Looking to shade on in. Okay, Classic mixing things up. So he has additional gateways here so we can go for a higher Stalker count earlier on and be a little bit more aggressive. Hold on to his third base. And behind this, we're getting into double Forge production. Double upgrades even. We're going to hit a strong 1-1 and soon to be 2-2 timing with this. So again, it's really cool to see Classic mix things up. His Oracle still being very active, or attempting to be active, but is being fended off by those Queens. Fourth base on the way, we're able to drone up. Classic setting up for a bit of a depth harass here towards the third base. There's that 1-1 on the way. So again, going to be later upgrades from Classic, but of course, stronger timings here once they do kick in. And I really appreciate this as well from Classic. Hero does this very often. If Hero ever loses an Oracle, he replaces it. And now we do see Classic pumping out a second Oracle. Technically a third Oracle, but to replace the one that died. Just so we can continue to be active. Not just threaten the mineral lines, but also try and get an eye on the tech as well. Really do appreciate it. Behind this, Dark working towards his Roach Warren, his own upgrades, double Evo chambers, fourth base on the way. I'm worried that he's being caught a little bit exposed. We do have Lings on the field. They are going to be distracted here by these Stalkers. Blink finishing up in a couple of seconds. Lings are looking for a surround, but Blink should finish up in time. Up. Yeah, Blink is now done. Dark will barely get a Stalker towards the end. Just barely. Oh, as we get some pretty good target firing coming in from Classic. 3 drones go down. Just 3 towards the end. Oh, as Dark is being pulled apart, as the Lings were distracted by the Adepts, the Queens were exposed. As a Queen does fall. Classic, my god, going for a massive gateway explosion behind this. 6 gates, 10 in total. We got a third base, we got a fourth base as well. We're not taking any additional gases, so with this, we're not looking to really tech up too heavily. Just going to be a pure gateway army for the time being with pure Blink Stalkers and charge lots. Oh boy. And this is going to snowball real quick. Plus 1-1 is now done. 2-2 on the way for Classic as well. As Classic pushes in, Dark is going for a Ling counterattack, and he should be able to find a lot of damage. Once again, the whole position marker is looking good. And Classic is going to be able to get almost every single one of these Queens. The Queens do fall, but we are dealing some pretty critical damage across the map. 15, 17 probes go down. But these Stalkers, they keep on pushing. The Lings are racing back home to defend, but the Stalkers, they focus on every single Queen. And then go for the recall. The Lings come back a little bit too late. And with those probe kills, that does even up the worker count. It just goes to show how greedy Classic was being with this fourth base, with his probe production. Stark is barely ahead in the drone count. Oh, we have not been stopping Oracle production, by the way. We have a third and a fourth Oracle as well. Classic looking to once again push out across the map. And Dark, upon losing all those Queens, he only has 1 Queen left. He doesn't have a lot of larvae to work with. Doesn't have a lot of production. We're going to dive on this army, but the Chargers are going to trade so well against this. Especially with 2-2 on the way. No Ravagers, no Banelings, only Ling Roach. It's not looking ideal here for Dark. Vipers are on the way, and they're gonna help a little bit. Gonna help a little bit against these Stalkers at least. Oh god, but the Blinks are looking quite good. Classic has to be careful not to hit an anti-timing. Is waiting for 2-2 to finish. And this timing with 2-2 is gonna hit quite well. Bailey Nest, it just now starts. Without the Bailey Nest, I don't think that Dark can hold, I'll be honest. It's gonna be close. It is gonna be close here as a Ling Roach dives on top of these Stalkers, but there's just so much behind this to support. The Oracles dive in as well. Vipers go for power bombs because what else can they do? They're just not that useful here against the Blink Stalker army. I mean, sure, we can Blinding Cloud, but that's kind of it. Yeah, now the Zealots are rocking up. Again, there is no answer. Very little shoots up as well. The Oracles dive on forward. One of them will be bowed down. But the Blink Stalkers just push on forward. They get on top of the Roaches. They get on top of the Ravagers. The Lings evaporate almost instantly. They have a power bomb, at least. But alas, Dark just took so many losses early on, and he had a hard time recovering after that. Unable to tech up in time. Fourth base goes down, and yeah, now Classic is looking to break into that natural base. Boys are being pulled because they have to be. Blinding Clouds, GG gets called, and Classic will tie up the series 1-1 in this semifinals match. Oh, let's go, buddy. Let's go. The Ling run by was good earlier, but I mean, Classic had probes to spare. He could afford to lose some probes, and Dark could not afford to lose his own workers, his own queens as well. Far too much damage he was sustaining from that 1-1 push. And now we have an ace match. We're going all the way to game number 3. Let's go. Let us go. And game 3 is going to be taking place on altitude. I just realized the 3 largest maps were picked here for this series. We had Gresvan, into Ancient Cistern, into altitude. We just get bigger and bigger. Oh my god. And here we go, spawning in the top right hand corner of altitude, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kai Z Gaming. It is Dark. Those trumpets, yeah, the fanfare, Poppy, the fanfare. I've said this before because we cast quite a lot of StarCraft here. Whenever I watch something like GSL or DreamHack or ESL Masters, and whenever they introduce a player and there's no trumpet, it feels wrong. The trumpets, they're ingrained into intros for me, at least, from my brain at least. I need the trumpets in my life. It's not the same without it. As we're getting into the ace match, again, a Classic with a very different build, of course, with some very heavy upgrade timings, was able to overwhelm and overpower Dark in that last game. Oh. And we'll see what they have in store for us here in the ace match. Again, Classic has been doing something a little bit different every single game so far. Has been having his own twist to things. Game 1, of course, double Robo Colossus production. Game 2 went for double Forge, +2 or 1-1 and then 2-2 upgrade timings. What do we do in Game 3? If the Observer doesn't do the switch when introducing players, that gets to me. True. I remember after we casted like a couple of weeks of WTL. Just because we don't get to observe WTL, and when Asher finally got to cast with me like a KSL or some other event, he was like, "Papi, I can follow you now. We can switch together." It's like, oh, let's go. It's crazy that there are some observers, not calling anyone out, but there are some observers that don't use the camera pans when introducing players. Crazy. WTL. As we are getting into this. Once again, Stargate opener from Classic. The Classic, if you will. To be expected. No crazy Twilight Council. Not here, not this time. If we were casting Hero, I would be a little bit concerned, and I would say that, hey, we're on altitude. This isn't a bad map for Skytoss. Hero, I would say maybe like 50% of the time, he does like to mix in Skytoss whenever he can. just because you can get away with that on a map as large as Altitude. I don't think that Classic is really prone to that. We have seen Classic transition into Sky Toss before, but it's usually if the game goes longer. I don't think Classic is really one to initiate the Sky Toss and to rush into it necessarily. But we'll see. I could be wrong on that. We'll see if Classic does embrace it. As we do have that first Oracle coming out. Meanwhile, Dark going for a Hatch Gas Pool was forced to take the unnatural natural this time. So he's going to have a little bit more of a difficult time here keeping up with the Oracles, keeping up with the Adepts. Not impossible, just a little bit more difficult. This is going to have to try and rotate between the bases. First Oracle is on the way. Second, not too far behind. Dark is going to try to maybe even force the Oracle to turn back around as the Lings do rock up and they will be able to focus down the probe. Up! They're trying to. They will get the probe. Oracle does turn around. This does give Dark a little bit more time to prepare back at home, to get these spores up and running, to get his queens in position as well. So a nice little bit of damage by Dark to be able to delay the third and give himself some breathing room. Did cost him a couple of Lings, but you know, it's okay. We can afford to throw away some Lings. As Classic is going to be transitioning into a pretty similar setup to last game. Once again, 2 gates, a Twilight Council, delayed Forge. This is looking like Ancient Cistern, where he did go for a double Forge timing later on. Meanwhile, the Oracles are going to be dancing between the bases, and they do focus fire one of these queens. There's not enough energy for Transfuse. One queen goes down. Pretty nice damage here from Classic, and this time, this is what if you remember, this is what I assumed last game. If you remember, early on I called Glaives because there wasn't a Forge. Then he threw down 2 Forges. And we can see that he can go for the same opener, but just opt not to throw down the Forges and go for Glaive Adepts instead. So, yeah, this is going to be a little bit difficult for Dark to scout. It's going to be difficult for him to get eyes on. Adepts are going to be warped in back at home, looking to try and catch Dark off guard. Meanwhile, Dark is going for a Baneling Nest. Ling Bane here. A lot of Lings already in production here for Dark. He should have enough forces to deal with this. It is a little bit more difficult to defend against Glaive Adepts with Ling Bane, but not impossible, as long as your Banelings are able to keep up with the Shades. So Lings do commit to a counterattack. Adept has some pretty nice positioning here amongst the mineral patches, but the Lings find damage nonetheless, almost get an Adept. As we still have 28 more Lings in production. We're banking them up back at home, Papi. Dark going for his own aggression, going for his own all-in, essentially. As finally the Adepts have been spotted. The Shade was scattered by the Overlords. Lings bypass the Adepts, and Banelings are being morphed in across the map. And back at home as well. Oh no, they're also across. Never mind. No, Banelings back at home. Lings, they do get us around. There are 2 Banelings left to connect, and they will connect with the Adepts. Ooh, everything gets cleaned up, and at the same time, Dark, he wants some economic damage. He's rolling on in from both sides. Oh, there's nowhere to go. Oh my god, the mineral line goes down from the left, from the right. There was nowhere to run. Classic loses his entire mineral line and all of his Adepts. Dark completely shutting this down. And now Classic is in a really rough position. We have Blink on the way. We have +1. We are attempting to transition into +1 Blink Stalkers, but this is so delayed because of the Glaive Adepts. And the Adepts didn't do any damage across the map. They did 0 economic damage. Classic is going to try to hold on with what little he has, but the Lings are rushing across the map. Banelings once again roll into the mineral line. In the meanwhile, Lings get a surround on all these Stalkers, on the Adepts. Oof. Once again, an efficient trade for Dark. Behind this, we're just droning, we're saturating our bases. We have a macro hatch, 4th base up and running. Dark can kind of do whatever he wants from this point forward. Like, there should be no pressure from Classic at all until Blink finishes, and that's still halfway done. In a desperate move, Classic is going for a 2nd Forge for double upgrades. It'll help if he can get into his double upgrades. Then sure, it's gonna be good. But again, this is just so delayed. And Dark shouldn't be giving him the time. He drones up to 73. More Lings coming across the map. We have Roaches behind this. Upgrades as well. Dark should be working towards a Ling Roach push. And even though Classic may get this 4th base up and running, Dark should be able to just hammer it down once he's able to muster up his army. Basically, we're waiting for Roach Speed. We're still waiting for Roach Speed to kick in. +1 range as well. They should finish up at around the same time. Army is consolidating here in the center of the map. At the same time, bailing around by on the left-hand side. Here we go. Dark is pushing into the 4th, looking to distract Classic. Oh, he was about to scout with his oracles. He almost came across the Bailings. But again, as Dark lays siege on the 4th base, the Bailings, they do roll into that 3rd base. There's no reaction. No! A delayed reaction is 9, 11, 16. The mineral line goes down. 16 probes do fall. Dark may not have gotten the 4th base, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was the mineral line, was the 3rd, and he got it. And Dark can just keep doing that. He can just keep on going time and time again. As he rotates back in, Lings rallying into the 3rd. They have to be careful. The Stalkers are in position, but they're not in position to protect this 4th base. Now the 4th will go down. Behind this, we do have, you know, 1-1 about to kick in, +2 on the horizon. Classic is stuck on a pure gateway army. There's no Robo, there's no Templar Archives for Archons or Storm, no Colossi, no Disruptors. Just Stalkers, Zealots, Oracles, and a Dream. How many Oracles do we have? We have 5 Oracles. That's a lot of Oracles. There's a lot of firepower there. And there isn't much that shoots up, but there's only so much that 5 Oracles can do, you know? Only so much. Honestly, if instead of throwing down that 2nd Forge, if we threw down a Stargate and started transitioning into Skytoss, I do think that Classic would have been in a better position. Not in a winning position, just better than he is now. But it's fine. Part of me is also relieved that we're not getting Skytoss. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. As we have another bailing run by being set up on the left-hand side. Dark working towards Hive. Hydroden on the way. 2-1 kicking in. Do we have a reaction? This time we do. This time Classic does pull back in time. Oh. I've got the one bailing. One bailing does get focused out. No! Meanwhile, Dark, he just waddles into the natural instead, and Classic wasn't looking. He pulls back, but a little bit too late. 10 probes go down. Is nowhere safe from the bailings of Dark. Feels probe, man. Ay. Another bailing run by being set up. Dark just continuing to just hammer into these mineral lines. Dark now maxed out on Ling Bane, Roach Ravager. Good force fields are thrown down, but we have a Biles to deal with those. Lings are attempting to distract his opponent. They are going to be keeping these Stalkers busy. Bailings don't quite commit as the army does rotate over, but they expose the 4th base once again for a 2nd time. Oh god, and in mere seconds it goes down. At the same time, the Bailings, they roll on in. This time Classic is going to be able to defend his mineral line. But it's just a numbers game. Just because of how poorly the opener went, just because of how poorly the Glaive Adepts went for Classic, he's just been behind ever since. And he just hasn't been able to claw his way back in. Time and time again, Dark has been there to just shut down his economy, shut down his army. We get a full surround. We get Biles. They will connect with the Stalkers. Hydras are being mixed in. We have some anti-air for those Oracles, and Classic is losing his main army. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. GG gets called, and Dark will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the grand finals. GG. A really strong performance there from Dark. Yeah, really well executed reaction to the Glaive Adept follow-up. Not just shutting down the Glaive Adepts, but also immediately counterattacking as well, shutting down that third base and just punishing Classic for having such late upgrades for his Stalkers, for Blink, for +1. It is the risk you take. It's the risk you take as a Protoss player when you do go for a Glaive follow-up after a Stargate opener. It's a big gamble because it does have to pay for itself. You're sacrificing a lot to sneak out those Adepts, and they do have to do some kind of economic damage or even, I don't know, trade efficiently against the army, go unscattered. Alas, Dark had plenty of time to react, did see the Adepts coming across the map with his Overlords, and yeah, GG. GG, well played. With that, we're going to be getting into our second semifinals. At the beginning of the broadcast, we were casting Hero, if you remember. We casted Hero take down Hon Mono. We also casted Hero take down... almost forgot. We also casted Hero take down Estrella as well. Shout out to Estrella. Estrella often does compete in KSL and ESL Open Cup Asia. One of the few North Americans that does. But, of course, Hero did bring them both down. And now Hero also is in a semifinals match. It is going to be Hero versus Solar. Oh, let's go, bud. Let's go.